All right. That's the beauty of internet radio. When once it fails, we just come back and we do it again. So about 26 minutes into the show there, we went down. You guys missed a lot, so I'm back. We're going to do it again. We're going to cover everything. There's no problem with what we got going on. We do our thing each and every time, and we keep it real because, sometimes stuff happens, and today it happened. So, we're going to go back over everything. If you were listening live earlier, you're going to get to hear some of the information again. If you're just tuning in now for the first time and you didn't happen to have the problem of us cutting out and going away, congratulations. I'm glad you could be here with us. So getting into it, we're going to start back with the Oakland Raiders. They were able to get their public funding, it looks like, that they were going to need for their new stadium to be built there in Las Vegas. It turns out this week it's being reported that they have been okayed for up to $750 million for a new stadium to be built for them there in Las Vegas. That is amazing. That's great. I love the idea of the Raiders going to Vegas. I think their stay in Oakland is overdone. I think they need to move on, and I'm excited for it. The NHL is moving there, and really they haven't had anything going on there in Vegas since the early 90s when UNLV and the Runnin' Rebels were doing their thing. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what comes out of that. One potential fallout from that, one thing you could see as the situation down there in San Diego still hasn't found conclusion, is we could see that the San Diego Chargers move on and move back to L.A. And yes, I say back to L.A. because the Chargers did spend most of their time in L.A., as have the Rams spent most of their organizational time in L.A. You're looking at a situation where Kroenke's building a stadium and a venue and a complex there that could easily support two NFL teams. And I think it would be good for at least these two teams in a city like L.A. that's that large. And it can still support, Southern California. I think that'll be cool. I think, the Powder Blues will look good in L.A., and I'm looking forward to that being a possibility. You never know what will come in the NFL or what changes could potentially happen down there in San Diego as far as getting them a new stadium. But, if the move happens, I'll be on record as being all for it. One big thing coming out of college football yesterday, this is what I love to see, are these smaller schools really just making a splash. And I don't know if we can call North Dakota State a small school anymore, as they now have a history of beating FBS schools, as they're 5-0 now in their last 5 attempts against top programs. They were able to knock off number 13 Iowa yesterday as they kicked a game-winning field goal with time expiring. Very excited there for the Buffaloes. Everybody thought maybe they would take a step back after losing Carson Wentz to the Philadelphia Eagles this year, and really they're showing that they have a program up there that's going to continue to produce. A program that maybe we need to see step up to the SEC or the Big 12 or the Big 10 or something like that, and start making a little bit more noise for the North Dakota area up there. Good to see. Go Buffaloes. One thing I like to see and respect everybody who's continuing on with their protest is the protest for the national anthem, the protest for social injustice. To those of you who still don't get it, I'm sorry for you. You probably won't ever truly get it. You don't have enough empathy or brain power, apparently, to understand something outside of what you've been taught. That's unfortunate that you live your life with blinders, and you can't accept people for people and just know right from wrong. But hey, everybody's entitled to their own. I'm entitled to respect their protest and to follow their protest. They're entitled to have their protest, and you're entitled to be ignorant and feel the way you do. This is something we're seeing from all levels now, from Floyd Mayweather's Little League team to high school teams, female sports, male athletics, head coaches, GMs. Doug Peterson is saying if the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night decide to do a team protest, he will also join in with his team. That'll make the first head coach doing this. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Stephen A. Smith on First Take this week talked about how NFL players didn't even come out for the national anthem, didn't stand for the national anthem until 2009. And this happened as a way because our government basically paid the NFL for publicity. They said, hey, we're going to give you such and such amount of money, and you'll have your players come out during the national anthem, and that'll be a patriotic moment, and that'll help us in recruiting. That's why it's done in the NFL. It has nothing to do with all this BS that you guys out there who want to hate on all these protesters about being disrespectful to the troops or to the country, blah, blah, blah. That's not what it is. They're out there because they're getting paid to be out there. Before that, it was thought that they were a distraction to what was going on. So get off your high horse, learn something, and move forward. Broncos defense comes back with a second touchdown here at the end of the fourth quarter, looking like they're going to seal the win for the Broncos with under 2 minutes left in the game there. Another good game for the Broncos D, even though they lost DeMarcus Ware today, and we'll talk about all the injuries here in a minute that have come down from – actually, we'll talk about the injuries right now. That's perfect timing. DeMarcus Ware goes out with an elbow injury today. That was Von Miller with the strip sack there, and Shane Ray, DeMarcus Ware's replacement, picks it up for the scoop and score. Von Miller had a great game today for the Broncos. Don't know how they scored the sacks yet, but he was in on at least 2 sacks. That's a forced fumble. Probably go down as a sack on that one too. But injuries today, injury bug hit everybody. It hit the Detroit Lions the hardest today. We were already depleted at linebacker with a couple guys on IR, a couple guys hurt this week and out. And we go ahead, our best defender, Ziggy Ansah, goes down today. Kyle Van Noy goes out today. Amir Abdullah goes out today. The rookie linebacker Williams goes out today. Other names around the league with injuries today: Thomas Rawls, Arian Foster, Jimmy Garoppolo, Donald Stevenson, Antonio Cromartie, James Stewart, Danny Woodhead, DeMarcus Ware, Darius Butler, Dante Moncrief, Doug Martin, Akeem Ayers. And those are just some of the names of injured players today. And I don't know if this has everything to do with the fact that they're not hitting, or how long preseason is, or the limited number of padded practices they're allowed to have in OTAs now. Something needs to change. I do believe that in 2021 the players are going to strike. I do believe they should strike. I do believe they need to have more power in what's being said and what's going on in their league. It needs be a little more equity on their side. And I think what needs to happen is we need to get the scientists, the doctors, the players, the coaches, the trainers. Everybody needs to get together. They need to work out a system that works for everybody. Be honest about it. Don't just be greedy. Let's change up. Let's, drop some of the rules from the rule book. Let's simplify the game. Let's make it more clear for the officials on what the calls are going to be. And yes, you're going to make this call every time, or you will be fined. Let's make the referees full-time employees so they feel more a part of the game. Okay? If you're going to focus on player safety, look at all the injuries that occurred today. Look at how drastically it changed a game like the Detroit Lions against the Tennessee Titans, who clearly in that game, Detroit was the better team. Now, with all the injuries and all the stupid mistakes and all the penalties and some of the non-penalties that were called against us, there was nothing we could do to win the game at that point. Tennessee came back. They won 16-15. One point, we had a chance driving down with Matt Prater at the end of the game, and Matthew Stafford had his worst play of the season so far, throwing an interception right to a Tennessee defender. But between those, you can't recover from injuries and having all those dumb plays. Now you see some of these teams today, Denver, losing to DeMarcus Ware, they were able to get through that. They had the depth. Detroit did not have the depth, and it exposed us today. It showed that today. We lost Amir Abdullah. We didn't have that other running back. Theo Riddick was not able to carry the load by himself. Washington didn't really get off or anything. We didn't get anything out of our tight ends. And, we didn't do enough to win. It never comes down to one play. It should never come down to one play. It shouldn't come down to an injury. It should be the next man up for sure. But it definitely hurt today, for sure. When we come back from the break, we will have 5 downs. Hey guys, the NFL is back. It's time to win some cash playing fantasy football. TheDirtCannon.com is a local company that has your back. They have produced over 60% winners on FanDuel, DraftKings, and now even Yahoo. TheDirtCannon.com will help you build, play, and win. Build a better team with TheDirtCannon.com. Use promo code RDST and get $5 off forever. And try the Silver membership this week for free. Visit TheDirtCannon.com. Definitely check out the boys over there at TheDirtCannon.com. We appreciate Chris and Jeremy calling in weekly with their college and NFL knowledge, giving us the predictions, breaking down DC3PO's thoughts and analytics there. So definitely check them out. Again, they are a local Denver, Colorado company. So go out there and support them and win some money. All right, let's get into it. First down. First down, it looks like RG3, you might be playing your way into Canada, buddy boy, as your injury, your broken shoulder, bone in your shoulder, has now got you out 10 to 12 weeks of this season. You're going to be placed on the IR, and I don't know if Cleveland's going to bring you back next year. I honestly don't know what they will do with you. Josh McCown came in, played pretty solid in the first half. Cleveland completely imploded in the second half and lost their game 25-20 to Baltimore. And, you know, Josh McCown's going to be that serviceable kind of starter, backup guy. Cleveland could be looking for another quarterback this week, and so could a few other teams, actually. They could be looking for a starter and a backup. New England could be looking for a starter and a backup after losing Garoppolo today. But RG3, sorry, bud, you're out 10 to 12 weeks, and your days in the NFL look like they are numbered. Second down. So multiple outlets this morning were reporting. If you guys saw this, you probably as upset, and you know this gives way to the fanatics and the conspiracy theorists. But the NFL came out this morning and admitted last week in the Jacksonville Jaguars Green Bay Packers game that there were 16 calls that went the wrong way, whether it was for or against Jacksonville or for or against Green Bay. Who knows how this game would have played out had those calls gone the way they were supposed to. Maybe Green Bay wins big. Maybe Jacksonville's able to come back and win. It is the human element. It is part of the game. But as fans, you know, it's the thing that we sit at home and we look at and we see and we just go, man, that cost us the game. That's how fans see it. You know, that cost us the game. Not everything else that didn't work. Not the plays on second and short where we didn't get enough yardage, and then or we got a penalty and it's third and long. You know, it's not the cumulative ever for the fan. It's the individual play that goes wrong here and there. So 16 bad calls in that Jags Green Bay game. Let's hope referees this week grade out a little better than that. And let's move on also to third down. Third down, let's talk about the most impressive college football athlete I think we've seen in a while in Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey last year should have been the Heisman Trophy winner, not Derrick Henry. And if the bias is that West Coast bias that most of the voters, you know, they were asleep or they didn't watch the Stanford game because it was so late, well, that's a bunch of BS. That makes you a bunch of idiots, and you should probably have your voting taken away. Because what he was able to accomplish, breaking Barry Sanders' single-season NCAA record by over 600 yards last year, by being a threat in the kick return, punt return, receiving, and rushing games, by dominating all of those facets against every level of opponent that he went against in the Pac-12 title game, okay? He did it against everybody. He wasn't on the powerhouse Alabama team. And this year, he's having another great year so far. Yesterday against USC, another 165 yards rushing, another 73 yards receiving, picking up pretty much where he left off last year, even as Stanford lost a lot of weapons around him, and teams are able to focus in on him a little more this year. Good job, Christian McCaffrey, local product here out of Colorado. Everybody knows his dad, Eddie Mack. And we know we'll follow him throughout the season for sure and keep you updated, as he's a guy I enjoy watching. I would enjoy seeing if he comes out of in the draft this year, as he will be eligible. You know, he could join my Detroit Lions. I know